This whole season has been about Christ's light. The light that comes into the world, the light that is the life of all people. Last week, we heard Jesus teach us that we are not to hide our light under a basket, but to put it on a high place and let it shine for all to see. Which is funny, because then we come to today's readings, in which Jesus and some of his disciples literally are on a high place, and the light that is in Jesus is shining as brightly as the sun. His clothes become dazzling, and he's revealed as in his transfiguration as the source of light, which we've known all along through Epiphany. And what is Peter's first reaction to this light on the mountaintop? Build a cover for it. Make a container, a dwelling place. And barely have the words come out of his mouth, then a bright cloud of light descends upon them, and they're frightened. They're frightened, I think, probably not only at the sound of God's voice, but at the overwhelming intimacy of all of that. To stand in brightness is to feel very exposed, to be seen completely. And then, of course, Jesus tells us, do not be afraid. It might have felt easier, like Peter suggests, to build a container. Then we would always know where Jesus, Moses, and Elijah are. They're on top of that mountain over there. But this interaction reveals to us the complete uncontainability of Christ's light. Uncontainable. The light is not meant to be managed. It's not meant to be owned or possessed. It's not meant to be stored safely on a mountaintop somewhere far away. The light is meant to shine. And through the incarnation, fully human, fully divine, all of creation shines with his light. The one through whom all things came into being is revealed on Mount Tabor and revealed in our orientation to Christ today. Remember, God's kingdom is not just near, it is here. So again, we've had this bright light that guided the Magi. They oriented to Christ, and they took another way, the way of love. And we ground in our incarnational theology that Christ is the light that is the life of all. And throughout the last few weeks, we've really tried to consider what it means and looks like for us to orient to Christ, to return our attention to Jesus so that we might, like the Magi, follow the way of love. Like many of us, when we see something that feels valuable, we do want to contain it. We want to be able to point to it, claim it, see what I have. In a moment, that's all it would have taken for Peter to imagine himself walking down the mountain saying, I know where Jesus is. I can take you there. But when we imagine Jesus far away, it becomes easier to dismiss the person in front of us. Easier to roll our eyes at the driver who cuts us off. Easier to caricature someone we disagree with. Easier to scroll past suffering without really seeing it. But Jesus is uncontainable. Not hidden, but shining, illuminated through each of us. Human wisdom, as we talked about last week, would have us fear we do not count, that Christ's light is far away. And like Peter, we have to possess something in order to be seen as important. But it is very vital to remember, Peter was wrong. So as we've been talking about orienting to God, it is not about orienting to a mountain far away. In fact, let's try something out. I invite you to stand up as you're comfortable. What does it look like to orient to God? How do you show orientation to God right now? Looking up. Okay. Looking at the cross. What about when we return to that, the light that is the life of all people, illuminated in each of us? How do you orient to God? I see, yeah, a few of you doing it. Look at each other, right? Yeah, so let's do this. So orient to your neighbor. Yeah, so turn around, move your body. Orient to a neighbor. Ideally not a neighbor who is in your family. Now stay facing a neighbor. This is how you orient to God. Because the neighbor is where Christ dwells. So now, while you're facing your neighbor, take a moment and close your eyes. And notice what is coming up in your inner landscape as you did this exercise. Just giving ourselves a brief pause. Maybe you felt anxious or exposed, a little bit nervous. Maybe you were afraid of being wrong when I asked a question. Maybe you were afraid of being rejected by the neighbor you turned to. So we're just giving ourselves some space to notice all of that and name it. And perhaps gently ask yourself, why was this feeling there? What was I maybe afraid of? And still with your eyes closed, take a deep breath. And visualize in your mind's eye God's light shining in your heart. And if visualization is hard for you, just repeat the words, shining light. And see if you can visualize that light around the person in front of you too, just using your mind's eye. And now go ahead and open your eyes. Can you still see that light in you, in your neighbor? And now here's the fun part, which clearly you're already having fun with this. You are going to ask the name of your neighbor and write their name in that outline. And Sarah's got more pens if you need some more pens. Now, maybe some of you have already given them to your neighbor, but I invite you, we're going to do just one more step. And it's okay if you're sitting down, but still be connected to the person whose name you wrote in your Valentine. And when you give it to them, offer these words. God's light shines in you. You are loved. God's light shines in you. You are loved. And go ahead and take your seat when you're all done. But Jesus is not contained up here, nor is his light contained by our walls. God is not far away. We orient to Christ by orienting to our neighbor. That is where Christ dwells. But we come here because we can practice this. We can practice reorienting and attuning our attention so that when we are out in the world with the distractions of everyday life, we have exercised these muscles of faith. So even if we're not going up to the person in front of us in line to the grocery store and saying, "You're shining with God's light." I have not done that in person. But I do visualize that all the time. And I do say that in my heart. And that's meaningful. And that helps us live into this orientation to Christ in the world. Now, I want to switch gears just a little bit, because I don't want to leave this part out. I hope that you always pay attention to the collect of the day, the second of the opening prayers that I say. These are beautiful prayers that are written to draw us into the themes of the reading. And so today we pray, "Grant to us that we, beholding by faith the light of his countenance, may be strengthened to bear our cross and be changed into his likeness from glory to glory." Now, in my hearing of that, we might say, by seeing the light of Christ looking at us in the eyes of our neighbor, may we be courageous enough to reveal that same light. Bearing our cross is not a woe is me situation. It's not a difficulty in life. I know I've heard that a lot of times, "Oh, it's my cross to bear." But our cross, the cross of Christ, is love. The cross is not just suffering for suffering's sake. It is a love that refuses to withdraw. And it is a love that shines even when it costs something. So we are heading into Lent with the strength of Epiphany to bear Christ's light and to carry God's love. This is how we will follow another way. And there's been a lot over Epiphany that we've covered and talked about, and there's much that you could focus on for the next 40 days. And so I do really want to encourage you to bring some intention to the season of Lent. Perhaps you might practice seeing Christ in others. It could be with that visualization. It could be with inner words. You could also work on naming your fears. That's a huge step. You could work on training your attention. You could work on remembering that you are beloved. These are all important things that you could spend well more than 40 days on, but 40 days is a good start. This, for me, is why I sit in prayer and meditation every day. To connect with God's light in my heart, so that I may more easily attune my attention to Christ's light in the world. And this is why we gather together in prayer. One of my colleagues, I had a Zoom this week with a clergy group, and we only spent the first 2 minutes in prayer, 30 seconds of saying a prayer, a minute and a half in silence. And afterwards, he just looked so relieved, and he goes, "Oh, that's exactly what I needed." 2 minutes. 2 minutes was all it took. And he said he could go from all the chaos up here to God's presence in his heart. Chaos and distractions are many. Infinite, you might say. And as you're contemplating your approach to Lent, I want to encourage you. Come to church on Sundays. We will enjoy this time together. Maybe you'll join us for mindfulness on Mondays. We can set up a Zoom option if we need to. I offer some light instruction for training our attention. Come to evening prayer on Wednesdays and slow down in the middle of the week. Give yourself this space and time to orient to God. And because I really do truly believe that this is so, so important. So at least throughout Lent, we'll see how it goes. I'm offering a Zoom space on Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 7 a.m. We'll do a brief daily prayer, 5-ish minutes, never more than 10. Because as my colleague said, 2 minutes is all that it takes. So I'll send that link out this week. It is my deep hope that we will feel connected with God and connected with one another, and find the strength to bear love for the sake of the world, because this is urgent work. Orient to God. Turn to your neighbor. See Christ. And do not be afraid.